Hey everyone, sorry. Welcome to Professor Long's Lectures in Anatomy and Physiology. I'm Professor Bob Long. We've been going over the anatomy of the brain. We're going to continue that. There's a lot to know and we're not even getting to all of it. If you've been watching my videos, you know that these videos are intended for use by students who are enrolled in my class. If anyone else out there in YouTube land finds them helpful, or if you are in my class, please hit like, hit subscribe so that you get new videos. I get some good feedback. And we can continue to work together this way. Now, what we're going to be going over is the 12 pairs of cranial nerves. Now, if you're in my class, we've been covering the external and internal anatomy of the brain on pages 32 and 33, and it's spread out over 2 pages. And now we're going to be on page 34 covering the 12 pairs of cranial nerves. Now, I've done this in a drawing in lecture, I believe. And I could also do it somewhat in a drawing in lab, but we really got to identify them on the models, and we see them on either one of these 2 models. Some of the nerves are tiny and they're crammed together, so they're very hard to see, but we're going to do our best. I'm going to set the brain on the half shell aside, and I'm going to pull the puzzle brain out. I don't need the cerebellum. I'm going to leave it off for now. It would be back here. So if you were looking at it, you would be looking at it something like this, okay? Now, I'm going to remove the cerebellum only because it keeps falling off. All of these little white lines, these little white spots, or many of them, are our cranial nerves. There are 12 pairs of cranial nerves, meaning I have 12 on the right half of the brain and 12 on the left half of the brain. The only cranial nerve that is associated with the cerebrum is this one right here. This is called the olfactory nerve, or cranial nerve number 1. I believe we're going to ask you for the lecture test or the lab test to give us the Roman numeral and the name. So this would be cranial nerve number 1. You use Roman numerals. They're also on the list of things to know. It's called the olfactory nerve. It actually handles a sense of smell called olfaction. It sits in the cribriform plate. Neurons go through the cribriform plate, synapse in there, and send action potentials into our brain. Now, if I follow it straight down, it looks like it runs into these 2 bumps, but it really doesn't. It kind of curves and goes off into the brain. These 2 spots right here would be connected to an eyeball, which would be about here and here. So these 2 stumps sticking out are called the optic nerve. Where the right and left optic nerve meets is the optic chiasm. That little spot is the infundibulum, and the 2 little green dots are the mammillary bodies. We've covered those before. So, olfactory nerve, optic nerve, cranial nerve number 2. Cranial nerve number 3 is right here, and that one is called the oculomotor nerve. The optic nerve does a lot of vision and controls some pupil size. The oculomotor nerve is going to do moving your eyeballs. It moves the muscles, or it controls the muscles that do eyeball movement. So olfactory, optic, oculomotor. Okay. Now, in order to see cranial nerve 4 on this model, I actually have to take the model apart. So I'm going to do that. And I'm just going to set the pieces aside because we don't really need them. I'm going to get down to nothing but the brainstem, and I'm going to put a piece of the frontal lobe back on. So now we're just focusing on the cranial nerves. Olfactory, optics, oculomotor nerves, those 2 little white stumps. They're where the midbrain and the pons meet. Now, if I rotate all of this, there's a little white line that starts just below the corpora quadrigemina and sticks out here. It would come all the way off and run somewhere else. That is cranial nerve number 4. That's called the trochlear nerve. Okay, so olfactory, it goes olfactory, optic, oculomotor, and trochlear. The next nerve is this little white stump that's on either side here of the pons, and that is called the trigeminal nerve. It has 3 branches, tri and Gemini for twins, 3 twin branches. So olfactory, optic, oculomotor, trochlear, trigeminal. Trochlear and trigeminal. Now the next 3 nerves are all on the base or the bottom edge of the pons, right where the pons and medulla meet. And it looks like this white nerve is connected to this white piece right here. It is not. This nerve will go down and then go into the brain. So this one right here is cranial nerve number 6. It's called the abducens nerve. The abducens nerve moves your eyeball, does abduction of the eye. The next nerve right here, there's two of them next to each other. This one is cranial nerve number 7. That's called the facial nerve. So olfactory, optic, oculomotor, trochlear, trigeminal, abducens, and facial. Now, cranial nerve number 8 is this one right next to the facial nerve, called the vestibulocochlear nerve. The vestibulocochlear nerve. It goes to the vestibule of your ear and to the cochlea. It's also called the auditory nerve or the acoustic nerve. You can say vestibulocochlear nerve, which is harder to spell, auditory nerve, or acoustic nerve. They're all acceptable, okay? So that's abducens, facial, vestibulocochlear. Now, 9, 10, and 11, you see this little oddly colored part and this little ridge right here? These two ridges right here are called the pyramids. And then that little structure looks like a little piece of an olive. That's called the olivary nucleus. They're not on our list. But between the pyramids and the olives, or behind the olives, the olivary nucleus, there's actually 3 little nerves here. It's hard to see, but there's a nerve there, there's a nerve there, and then there's another long nerve here. So this is cranial nerve number 6, 7, 8, 9. That's called the glossopharyngeal. Glossopharyngeal. Glossa means tongue, and pharynx means the upper part of your throat. It controls those. So, abducens, facial, vestibulocochlear, glossopharyngeal. Okay. This one is called the vagus nerve, number 10. V-A-G-U-S, not V-E-G-A-S like Las Vegas, but Vegas like V-A-G-U-S. When you get into healthcare, you'll learn about the vagal reflex or the vasovagal reflex. Causes people to faint, and the vagus nerve controls your heart rate and your breathing to some degree. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and that's going to be 11. 9 is glossopharyngeal, 10 is vagus, and 11 is called the spinal accessory nerve or the accessory nerve. Excuse me for one second. I apologize. In their grand wisdom, when they designed our classrooms, they gave us lights that automatically turn off to save electricity. The problem is if I don't move enough, they shut off on me. So I'm not going to start this video over. So 6, abducens, 7, facial, 8, vestibulocochlear, 9 is glossopharyngeal, 10 is vagus, 11 is called the accessory nerve or spinal accessory. And then right here between olivary nucleus and the pyramids is cranial nerve number 12. That one's called the hypoglossal nerve. It will come out through the hypoglossal canal. It goes underneath your tongue. So, olfactory, optic, oculomotor, 1, 2, and 3. 4 and 5, trochlear, trigeminal. 6, 7, 8, abducens, facial, vestibulocochlear. 9, 10, 11. That's glossopharyngeal, vagus, accessory. And then I have the hypoglossal number 12. Okay? Now, we could ask you on that model, or we could ask you on the brain on the half shell. The nice thing is, on this model, one half of the model, they're actually numbered for you so that you can find them pretty easily. Now, here I can see the pituitary, so it's going to be difficult to see below it. But this is the olfactory nerve. These two stumps are the optic nerve. And then if I could break it open, I see the pituitary. Oh, sorry. I see the pituitary here, the infundibulum. This little mass right here, that little white spot would be a mammillary body. But this little stump right here, it has the number 32 on it. That would be cranial nerve number 3. Okay, that's your oculomotor nerve. So, olfactory, optic, oculomotor. Now on this model, on one half, let me show you this half. Olfactory, optic, the oculomotor is right down here. But you see this little thin stem sticking out? You can see why it breaks off very easily. That's the trochlear nerve, number 4. That's the trigeminal nerve, number 5. There's 6, 7, and 8. Abducens, facial, vestibulocochlear. This is 9 and 10 kind of fused together. 9 is glossopharyngeal. The bottom half, 10, would be vagus. That's the spinal accessory. And that's the hypoglossal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Learn the Roman numerals, learn the names of the nerves. If I showed it to you on this side, it does the same thing. It's hard to see 4 and 5, but there's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. 1, 2, 3, and 4 are hard to see. There's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm going to try to pick the model that shows the nerve the best, but you really have to learn where these 12 pairs of cranial nerves are. I also drew them out and gave you an easy way to memorize them. It's in one of the videos. So thanks for watching. I hope you had as much fun as I did. Oh, by the way, there's a couple of funny sayings to remember the nerves in order. One is on old Olympus towering tops. A Finn and German viewed some hops. OOO, which would be olfactory, optic, oculomotor, on old Olympus, towering tops, trochlear, trigeminal. Now, people can't memorize that one. It doesn't relate to anything. There's another one that says, O once one takes the anatomy final. Very good vacations are heavenly. O once one, olfactory, optic, oculomotor, takes the trochlear, trigeminal, anatomy, abducens, final, facial, very, vestibulocochlear, good, glossopharyngeal, vacations, vagus, are, accessory, heavenly, hypoglossal. So I hope that's helpful. Again, I hope you had as much fun as I did. I hope you learned something. Do this till you can't stand it. Do it till you understand it. Do it till you can teach it to your classmates. See you in the next video.